Live, we're alive and kicking, broadcasting all the way from Amsterdam, the Netherlands. Myself,
Yes.
Charles Haralambos Dimitriou, and my co host, Andy Shalev. We are here today with a guest
Who's
that
not
might
here
not,
yet.
might not show up.
We always like a wonderful chaos name when it really comes true.
Exactly.
We don't call it a wonderful chaos for nothing.
It's a complete surrender and
Yes.
embrace of everything. Apparently, we have this amazing man on our show today.
Napoleon Reyes. Yes.
And because of who he is as a person, technology is not the thing that he connects to
No.
intuitively.
It's not what he's dying to be on. That's clear. But he did agree to come on and to share some time with us. And we needed a few more minutes to get his technical issues resolved, which we didn't have. So he's trying.
He's trying. If he doesn't come on, we're going to talk about touch.
So we're going to start the show and we're going to make it about touch. And if he comes on, we're going to reintroduce the show and start on the whole nother topic.
Exactly. And
So-
because it is a
Wonderful chaos. So today, Bambas, now before we do that, we're going to actually introduce it as a new show.
okay.
We're going to really do it well so that it can be turned into a podcast later. Hey, thank you for joining us today on A Wonderful Chaos. And Bambos and I are sitting here. What are we going to talk about, Bambos?
Touch.
And what are we going to do that on?
And so much more.
A
on
Wonderful Chaos.
My co-host is not on his phone. No, he's not. We're live, and he's not on his phone.
I'm telling the guests that it's okay. We will. We've gone on. I've said, yeah, and we love you.
So, as Andy would share, but I'm going to speak in the place of Andy. This topic is something that was triggering me in the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
It was a very difficult subject for me to engage because I had a year before COVID that I decided to be celibate.
Mm.
And as soon as I wanted to invite a queen into my life, COVID happened. So that was really tough, especially with the social distancing.
Yeah.
And of course, of us working together. And because of your age, and I didn't want to put you at risk, I pretty much social distance for the whole year just so that I don't put you at risk.
Yeah.
And that was really tough for me.
Yeah.
And it was also a choice. I'm not saying this to make you feel bad, by the way.
Hey, I think I told you that I didn't want you to do it on my behalf. I just said use common sense. I don't know what your common sense would have been, but
Well,
yeah.
Pretty high standards.
Yeah. I noticed that I always laughed when I thought each individual, as they go through COVID, has a different experience based on their predisposition.
Yeah.
So, although I love touch as well, I wasn't as in lack of it. And I had Ronnie as well.
Ronnie is his wife.
Yes. But I saw for you, it was a real strong, like a loss. And it taught me something about myself I wasn't aware of, is that that how much I didn't connect to that as a necessity in my being, and I saw how much you really did. And that really it took me time to empathize with it, because it wasn't something that was natural to me.
Yeah. Well, there's a thing called love languages, right?
Yeah. Ron and I did one, by the way.
My love language is touch. What's yours? It wasn't touch anyway.
Oh, you're gonna laugh. It was touch.
Really?
Yeah. It was touch. Yeah.
Interesting.
I got it was touch. I mean, it's split off I think there's 4 different love languages. Is that right?
Yeah. Of being of service,
Being of service,
words
yeah.
of affirmation,
Words of affirmation,
touch,
and
I'll remember.
then the 4th,
Gifts.
Yeah. And I think mine, they were the gifts was 0.
Yeah.
The touch was the highest of all of them, And the other two were less of a,
Well, there's three more. I
or
mean, there's
whatever.
five in
Yeah.
total, but yeah.
And Ronnie's, I think I went through Ronnie's, and hers were affirmations, I think.
Mm.
I think that was what I remember it being. And I certainly noticed how beautiful. I wonder, Bolalong, who always says we have the same love language. I don't know what he's getting at with that comment.
That means he's also into touch.
Oh, he's also into touch. Yeah. Like I also see, for me, yeah, when I say I don't need it, it doesn't mean that I also don't enjoy it. Right.
Mm.
Like, I think what it takes me to is, like, when I was a kid, my mom used to scratch my back, and that's the feeling that I have of being most at peace.
Mm.
Was the memory of going kind of to a childhood relaxed state of just being cared for.
Yeah.
So that's the, when Ronnie is being nice to me, then she'll give me a back scratch, and then that's sort of our ritual. So I do get my touch,
I'm just
regularly.
having these vivid images of Ronnie scratching your back literally with her nails.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a scratch. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. So yeah, that's so it's funny. You would think that it wasn't my language, but it actually
Well,
is.
also when I hug you sometimes,
Yeah.
I I don't always feel that you will give yourself fully to the hug, as if it's a bit overwhelming for you to receive the love that's there. And maybe that's my projection, by the way.
I think it is a projection. It's what I do see now is during COVID, like I'll hug, but I always hug kind of keeping my head away from somebody and sort of hitting their shoulders.
Mm.
So it doesn't take away from what you also may be noticing.
Yeah.
But for me at the moment, I'm like, I think to myself, you know what I think every time? I'm like, okay, if I hug this person and they tell me a week, this hug means I need to quarantine for 2 weeks. Like that's my feeling. That's what my feeling is.
And it's not
No,
like
what are you doing? What are
I'm
you doing?
fixing the
Oh, okay. But
backdrop.
you see, Napoleon is on.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's right there. That's the best.
Is it working now?
Napoleon?
Is
Hey,
it working now?
it's working perfectly. So here's what we're gonna do. So normally we just started another show with another topic. We're gonna go back to where we start a normal show and begin as if we didn't do a show already. So we're gonna just start all over again.
Oh,
If we
magic movie, magic of movies. Okay.
Yes. So please don't go away.
Don't go away.
Press anything.
Don't do anything.
Don't press anything. Okay.
You stay there for 3 minutes while we introduce the show, and then we bring you back on.
Oh, okay.
This is the movie magic.
Hi.
Hey, Bambas. Great to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
God, it feels like ages since we had a talk.
So today we have this
We have
amazing,
Napoleon Reyes.
this guy.
And we've done 200 shows, and I've always wanted different characters, people that I appreciate and admire and respect. And I like looking in different domains. And you know how Facebook is, they kind of shove people into your feed. And I started seeing Napoleon's videos.
Yeah.
And I really love this man. Like, whenever we're talking about shamans nowadays, there's so much associated with people who you go to get high and have a peak experience. And that's what and it's an unfortunate thing, because you think, wow, there's all these insights and all the wisdom, but you also see it attached, for me lately at least, is that, people, last week they were doing an Ayurveda training, and then the next week, all of a sudden they claim to be a shaman. So for me, spending time with Napoleon was a bit like, wow, I hear this loving, connected, grounding message. And I said, I want to just see if we can get him on to spend an hour together.
And we have.
So we're going to have Napoleon Reyes on, and we're going to talk about this and that and much other things on
So much more.
A Wonderful Chaos. So, as I said, Napoleon is quite big on Facebook. If you haven't seen his videos, Napoleon Reyes, he's got a lot of followers. A lot of people love to just see what he's up to and what he shares. And what I've found beautiful about his post is that it's always this grounded, authentic clearing of things that I feel more connected to after I listen to him speak. And the wisdom I hear is always what I associate with nature wisdom.
Mm.
And I always say,
So very connected.
You're connected, and you also feel more connected to nature as you hear him speak.
Wow.
You feel like he's speaking almost in a way for nature, and not in defense of it, but more like where that connection feels like we in our world are now connecting into the natural world, and how that balances, and how the wisdom is already in nature and we don't need to overthink it.
Mm.
And so that was what I always found really beautiful. And I always love it if I listen to somebody and I feel more connected. And that's always how I felt as I was listening to Napoleon. I said, I'd love to bring him on for a chat. Independently of that, which I love even more, and twists my brain, is that this tradition, the Babalan tradition, the shamans, and I can say I'm reading this, but it's a pre-Columbian Philippine island, and they were usually women or feminized men. And so when you see images where he also shares himself dressed in feminized clothing, and how we're gonna, he's like the most beautiful female you can imagine, right? But beautiful in all respects, like his, just the way he carries himself. So that just twisted my brain, and I read up on it afterwards just because it made me so curious.
It almost sounds, we've talked about channeling.
Yeah.
That when you say speaking on behalf of nature, or nature is speaking through him, it sounds like he's channeling and then putting the message out.
That's what I feel like. And what I was curious, because as I heard him, you really do sense it's coming from a grounded place. It's coming through him, and not, hey, let me tell you what I read last week in this book. And that's what
it's not an intellect.
No, it's not intellect. And that when someone embodies something, you know how much I love that. It's just like, let me drink from your well, because when someone embodies, they give you a vibration, and you can feel that vibration. And that's very much how I felt in my contact with Napoleon.
And just to say something about embodiment.
Yeah.
At least the way I experience embodiment is when someone speaks, I feel it in my body as they're speaking.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, if it's an intellectual thing, I notice I need to focus more on the words.
Yeah.
Because and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, but it's a more structured way of talking.
Yeah, I think it's like there's nature's wisdom, which comes from within, and then we give it words and intellect, and then we create structures, and that structure also makes sense, but it takes us back from the essence of the thing. It was I don't know if you remember in the second book that I love it. Plug it, please. Raise it, Bambos, the Wounded Healer. On that,
if you haven't read it, do it now.
Bambos has only read it 15 times, literally. So in that section, I picked up The Hitchhiker when I was driving through the reservation. And the one thing I loved about it that really thrust me back on myself was when he was pointing at objects and just pointing at the essence of everything. Instead of saying cow, he's just, that's beef. Or instead of saying clouds, he said white sky. Like, everything was just the essence. When we talked about winter, he said snow.
Yeah.
It's when the snow comes. And as I heard him speak, it was like, oh, he's not conceptualizing these things. He's speaking about actually what they represent. And that was really I didn't until I spent the hour in the car with him.
What did he call you?
I don't know. I didn't actually realize he spoke all that much. We sat next to each other, I think, for at least 40 minutes before he even spoke to me.
It's a funny story.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Let's bring him on.
I see he's covered up something, so let's see if we can see him now. There he is. Hello, Napoleon.
Hey, how's it going?
Nice to see you.
Good. I had some little bit difficulties. I'm not the very techie person.
Yeah.
I tried to be.
I think you gathered that it's called A Wonderful Chaos because we actually love the the freedom of just being present with whatever comes up. So
Yeah, just flow with it.
so when you didn't show up, we had a whole nother show about touch that we were into before you came on. And
Oh,
that was why we switched the show back to you, because you showed up.
no, we can still talk about touch too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we could talk about it because we, Bambos and I have been having this discussion through COVID,
Mhm.
and Bambos as and we have, you know, our our love languages are, you
Mhm.
know, different in terms of what we really need,
Yeah.
and you can
Yes,
share.
absolutely. I believe that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
Mhm.
me, I love hugging. Like, it
Mhm.
doesn't have to be a sexual thing, but just the heartfelt hug with another human being. It
That makes
just,
sense. I feel like humans need that. You know what I mean? Like as far as touch goes. Sometimes even during a session, if somebody just needs to be held, I'll just hold them while they cry. And I feel like that's sometimes somebody just needs just that, and then all of a sudden all this stuff will come out. You know, and
Yeah. And I was Bambos mentioned earlier that because I'm less like when we'll hug, especially
Mhm.
kind of during COVID time, I'll give him a hug, but I'll kind of press him against my shoulder and keep
Mhm.
my face away from him. So he said earlier that, hey, you don't really like to embrace. And I
Mhm.
laughed because I realized that when I'm with a client,
Mhm.
there's a lot of clients who I'll hug.
Mhm.
And just as you said, because I sense that's what's needed. Words
Mhm.
are going to just go create more confusion.
Right. Exactly. I think that too. I
Yeah.
think we're mostly feely creatures anyway. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? This whole thing's an emotional experience, and then yet we don't train anybody in emotions. It makes
Yeah.
no sense at all. You know what I mean?
None at all.
We don't have any schooling for emotions, and yet the whole
No.
thing is experienced through emotions.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're starting to raise the threshold of that cognizance on a collective conscious level. For now, it's going to be, oh yeah, I'm starting to see now this word trigger has been going around. It wasn't around in the 80s, but now it is. So now what's happening is the collective conscious now is at least semi little bit understanding that you are an observing observer of reality. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Instead of just reacting to whatever is happening, unfolding outside over here, you know?
Yeah.
And so I feel like it's going up. The world's getting better.
Yeah.
There's gonna
I
be a little bit of
actually
bumps, but the world is getting better.
I've been writing the third book today. It started because I just felt the flow coming back into my life. I've been taking more self-care, and
Uh,
I've seen that that's made my brain a little bit more sharp.
uh,
And I spent the morning only writing about triggers. That was the
oh,
only chapter was triggers today.
uh,
And yeah, I so it's fascinating because somebody today also asked me if I would join them to do a course on triggers.
oh,
So
nice.
the theme is very, very abundant in my life. I want to go back to you and
Oh,
like
okay.
your story. Like, although I followed you and just appreciated your videos, and I first thank you for
Mhm,
putting that content out, which is just so beautiful and grounding.
mhm.
So how did it begin for you? Like, where did your story in this shamanic life start?
I was dating the medicine man's daughter,
Oh, wow.
and funny enough, her name is Spike, is what we called her.
Okay.
And we're little punk rock kids, and it just happened to be that I started listening, and I remember I've always had these little voices in my head, and then all of a sudden they really started talking to me. And at that time, I was in this old folks' home, and I was doing energy healing secretly to them because you're not allowed to do that, obviously, if you're working the front desk. But it would be at midnight, and so I would make these rounds and listen in on their doors in case anybody fell. There was always this one hallway where I felt like it was haunted or something, right? And every time I used to pass it in the daytime, nothing would happen. But in the nighttime, I felt this something. And eventually, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go through this hallway, and I was like, all right, if something's gonna get me, go ahead and do it, and I just walked through it, and I felt like it was gonna get me, and I just heard this laughter, and then they were like, wait, you have nothing to fear from us, and then they started talking to me, and I was like, I better not tell anybody because then I'll be in some sort of home.
Yeah.
And maybe a month happened after that, but they were still talking to me in my house, and they were saying things like, "Give this guy $5," or "Offer to wash this homeless man's clothes," or something like that. Something like evil
Mm.
thing wouldn't tell you to do.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, and so I started researching a little bit. Other masters came out of nowhere, coincidentally, you know, serendipity, and then I started building a relationship with these people, which they are people. They're just people with no bodies, at a
Yeah.
higher level, a higher density, we'll say,
Yeah.
right? The higher consciousness goes in higher densities, and then whatever density you're at is where you're able to perceive more things, because you have to be at that vibrational frequency in order to perceive those things on that vibrational frequency,
Yeah.
right? So then I started getting information from them, and what things to read, what things to do, and then they would show me classes where I would kind of go out of my body. I guess that's not really the particular right way to term it, but I wasn't in this thing, and it would just give me lessons, and that was where the schools of mystery, as far as being taught, were taught to me, and
Yeah.
those kind of things, what you're able to achieve, what kind of little miracles you can do, and then all of a sudden it turned out to be that nothing is a miracle, everything is natural, and it's just your perception whether or not you can see that this also is a natural part of creation, you know.
Yeah.
Whether you call it good or bad or any of those kind of things, yeah.
Do you know what
So
I
pretty
find
much
really
that's how that happened, and then I did Native American shamanism for a very long time, and I peaked at it. I felt like there's only so many totem retrieval journeys you can do. There's only so many, those things, and plus I was held back because there's a lot of rules in there. There's a lot of regulations, those kind of things, and I'm not particularly a regulation type of person.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then my great grandfather, he was Seneca, which is the Iroquois nation. And I'm mostly Filipino, but I went through that because that's just what I naturally was led to.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, my picture is in the reservations, because somebody made a meme through Facebook, actually. And what happened? This whole thing was they said it was red face because I wasn't part of them. All right.
Wow.
So, and then I was going to do this concert. I wanted to give a blessing to these people. And they were like, "Well, let's get these guys who's doing these concerts." And they didn't call me in, but since my face was in the reservations, I came anyway. And my guides told me, just stand down and you'll say the right perfect thing. I went there, and all these people there just really not liking me, because of this meme or whatever. Somebody put how people are. They put the
Yeah.
memes, and they put your pic, or they put my picture without any permission, and put, "We need a new president. What about blah blah blah?" And I was just like, "Oh my God, no, you guys!" To my feet. And I'm in this room with like maybe 70 people, all the elders. You could feel they don't like me, which is strange
Wow.
to me because usually people like me, you
Yeah.
know. But I did put shields on, and they went through it, and they read me an actual declaration of war. And I told them, I am not your enemy. I'm your servant here. But if this is going to make you feel better, I won't do that. And then immediately everybody started feeling good about it, and all of a sudden I won the room, which I'm used to winning the room.
Yeah.
So, and then I was lost for a little while, and I was like, I don't know what to do, or who to be, or who am I now?
But
I've been
help me
this guy for
understand,
so long.
when they gave you the declaration of war and you said, "Listen, I'm going to stand down," at
Yes.
that moment, they said everything is cool, but that also meant that you weren't going to practice the Native American
Right.
shamanism anymore.
Right.
Wow.
So I had to kill that person, which is good. I mean, we have to kill off
Yeah.
different people all the time. I just didn't expect it that way. I thought I already did my thing like that,
Yeah.
ever changing, ever expanding. And then I started really getting into the Filipino part, and it just made way more sense because I am girly. I am a boy and a girl sometimes, or just a girl or just a boy. And, I feel like just even having those experiences give me a larger spectrum of life to be able to perceive it as, and also connect with pretty much anybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because if we're honest with ourselves, the whole idea of a socialized idea of what sexuality is just
Yeah.
confusion.
Right.
It's a confusion that everyone is accepted, so it's considered normal, but it's just confusion.
Right. It's
Yeah.
it can be normal, but not. Sometimes it's not natural.
Yeah. Well, I
Normal
mean,
and natural are two different things.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all based on the society that's judging it, which is
Right.
the
And it's okay. I mean, everybody went to they go through their things, and I feel like it's the greatest blessing.
yeah. When I saw
to-
you dressed as a female, and
Mm.
I got to tell you, you're hot. Like I was looking at the pictures, like if I were you, I'd probably dress as a female all the time because you're going to get
Oh
a lot
yeah,
of attention.
it's fantastic.
I'll show Bambos as the pictures afterwards.
There is a huge perception when it comes to like that. I immediately see that if I go out like that, I'm treated less intelligent.
Oh yeah.
Just naturally less intelligent. So I was just like, huh. And and I'm not particularly the warrior in that mode, and I feel like I use different set of neural nets, a different breathing pattern, different eye dilation, different body movements. All those kind of things are different when I'm in that consciousness, we'll say.
Wow.
Yeah.
That brings up a lot of questions to me, but I'm going to hold off on that because I saw you had some stuff going on, Bambos, that you want
I
to
would
mention.
like to say something though about what you were saying earlier in the introduction, where you're saying that these people that take this external thing and then they have this glorious moment and all of a sudden they're shamans. I believe there is a part that is needed for that part, but also to me that's the breaking of the ice of the paradigm shift of there's more than this five senses reality. You go to that level, but just because you keep going that level doesn't mean you're awake. It just means you just open the same door over every time.
Yeah.
You don't really need that in order to ascend in vibration. You know what I mean? You don't need anything external in order for you to be this internal thing that which you already naturally are.
We talk a lot about that on our show. Is that and I enjoy talking about it a lot. We have different relationships. Bambos was a drug addict for many years. I just got into DMT for the first time, and I had a great experience. But the thing I wanted to say about it is that this peak experience, the one thing we're always sort of staying touch. That peak experience teaches you things that you'll never be able to learn because your senses are actually going to be limited in their capacity to go there without this external drug. But I guess to your point is that if one needs and sees that peak experience as the thing, obviously that's where they get stuck.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like religion, almost as if I had the experience with the Christ God, and you had the experience with the Muslim God, but since I had the experience with the Christ God, mine must be the one.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So that kind of a deal. I feel like it's the same thing as a neural anchor, as a neural trigger. They associate this thing that they're even putting in vape pens now, I think, So
they're putting what in vape pens?
That smoke stuff, DMT and stuff like that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so now it's like I think it's miscalculated is what it is.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
And I told him that, and I was like, you're not going to find
Napoleon,
consciousness in something else.
You've really taken me on a long journey since you started talking. Like there's so much richness in what you're saying.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we've had several guests also, like what's the name of the woman that does the mystic,
the psychic from Las Vegas, actually. Yeah.
Oh.
Delissa Hawking, who does a show in Vegas as well. Yeah.
So in a way, it's like it's a different practice, but I hear another person living in another body having the same outcome, actually, like this wisdom coming out. I'm curious.
Well, it's not my particular wisdom, I don't think.
Nice.
I do pray
we don't own the
we got it.
So you mentioned that you kind of have a connection to entities which channel and communicate with you.
Yes, but everybody does is the thing.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Only you've kind of cultivated to actually listen, and the more you listen, the more it expands, I assume.
Oh yeah, and sometimes I can't expand to that level, and we'll have to wait, and they'll train me into different kinds of thinkings and these kind of things like that.
Yeah.
So My question, when you said yes to Andy to come on this show,
Uh-huh.
the decision to say yes to that, where did the yes come from?
For this particular instance, I usually ask guides, and then they'll either, what they'll do very simply is either just put a green light or a stop sign, and it was a green light. Right, we already devised the plan, so that way it's very easy for me. Like, even if I get lost, I'll just say green, take a left here, green light or red light, and they'll tell me how to get out of the woods, kind of a thing, you know. So it was more of that, in that kind of a way. But sometimes it's just an intuitive, I don't feel good about this, I'm not going to do that, or let's be curious about this and engage it, and we'll go as far as you're comfortable with it, you know, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah, it's how I see myself navigating everything as well. Yeah.
yeah. You just
Yeah, it's almost
basically
like
engage it.
it's almost funny because almost every guest that's on the show, I hear the way that they navigate life exactly as mine, except we use different words to explain that same experience.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
like 2 weeks ago, I'm walking and all of a sudden I just decide to walk the west coast of the Netherlands. Like, I don't know why
wow.
I've decided this. I'm going to do this. And then 2 weeks later, I have a backpack and I just spend a week every night, you know, 140 kilometers later, I have this experience and I don't know why I'm doing it. Like, I
What a
really don't.
phenomenal resources that you might have to be able to just say that and don't do that.
Yeah, true.
Amazing.
Very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was just it was like, and I didn't know what it was there to teach me, but I
Mhm.
knew that I had to do this and I'd figure it out because I don't need to know. And
Mhm.
then afterwards, I figured out what it was teaching me is that I lost connection with nature. And that's it. It was asking me to find back to the thing that connects me closest to just being grounded. And what I associate with loving that process of letting all identity just disappear and being
Yeah.
at peace with death. Because
Yeah.
I always see that's my journey is how do I make peace with death in this moment, not negatively in the
Right.
sense of, but just like, wow, am I like in that space now? Or is there something I'm attaching to that's taking me away from that beautiful spaciousness? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Yeah, it's
say
good to not be able to not always label everything, you know?
Yeah.
connection with nature, but also with your body.
Yeah. Yeah. Connection with my body. I've lost 11 pounds the last 6 weeks.
Nice.
And without any, one day
I
I
just
just started.
joined the gym.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Well, I can tell you, I didn't take care of my body for a lot of years. Bambos can attest to
I
that.
didn't either. I
Oh,
was,
yeah.
you know, I wasn't particularly healthy. I feel like I'm healthy because of my job.
Oh,
You
nice.
know, I'm not dedicated or disciplined. I just feel like it's a habit now. That's all it is. And as soon as it turns into a habit, you don't need to be dedicated or disciplined, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's the way it's turned into me. I had some questions going back to your story because
Huh.
I was a little bit confused. At some point, you're given the war decree. You say, "Hey, no war needed. I'm
Yeah.
okay moving out." So
Right.
you move out and go through this period where you're rediscovering who you are and what you want to be,
Mhm.
obviously with all of the influence from the Native American learnings.
Right. Right.
How do you then find your way into the Babalan tradition? Is it called the Babalan, or am I pronouncing it correctly?
Babaylan,
Babaylan, sorry.
that is called the Babaylan, but then what I am is something even. There's another thing on there called an asog,
Oh,
which
okay.
is the male version, but is female version,
Yeah.
right? So I'm an asog Babaylan, is what it is. And so to answer your question, I feel like it's you know, for a while I didn't really know what to do, but I was still doing sessions, and I didn't do it. I kind of just did it the same way, and after a while, I was researching. Well, then if I'm not this person, then what person am I? And it's just something naturally was just more of a what about Filipino kind of a thing, right? In my mind, and it's like, well, that doesn't. I never see no dances with wolves in Filipino type deal. You know what I mean? So I didn't know anything about that,
Yeah.
the SOG or any of these kind of things. Then when I started seeing it and researching it, my guys were telling me, what about this over here? And they nudged me in different ways. And I, you know, asked my mom about it and things like that. She was like, "Yeah, we have many healers in Philippines. Didn't you know that?" I was like, "No, I didn't know that." So focused on this one, you know. And I started reading upon it, and it just made way more sense to me. You know, like why am I like a girl, and why am I all these things? And That's not part of Native American being a girl and a boy type of deal, you know. And I feel like I really resonate with it. I feel like this is definitely, if you were to categorize it, this is the closest thing I would be in that spectrum, right? And I just went with that. And then I basically took all the Native American stuff that I wore and had in my house and all this stuff, put all that stuff down and replaced it with all the mythological mythos and the stories and the beautiful statues of the Philippines and dragons and all these kind of things that are part of Filipino culture. So really, I'm just kind of, it's almost like a new Christmas to say, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like we explore this stuff. Oh my God, we had our own writing. Oh my God, the warriors had these kind of swords. And I was like, and I love swords, right? So I'm collecting all these Filipino swords and knives and studying the art of pakamut, which is Filipino sword fighting. And, you know, anything I get, I try to enhance it. I try to optimize it. I try to give my flair to it. I don't particularly invent anything new. I just put my flair to it. And so now I'm training pakamut, but with these expanding batons, which is way cooler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have a individual within that tradition who you became more aligned with, or how did you adopt that tradition over time? How did you become to like know this is the way? Did your spirit guides take you there, or did an individual take you there?
I hardly, maybe to my detriment, but I hardly ever try to take mastery from a human. Because I feel like if you go up to here, then these guys have a bigger perception of what's going on. So, and sometimes those ones are liars. So, you know, those kind of things like that you have to watch out for. And they trained me into different kind of thinking. They were like, okay, remember this, how this was like this in the Native American? Well, what do you think about this way? Except now it's Filipino, and it's not necessarily Filipino. It's just abilities, right? Just whatever you're aware of. Just like if maybe you're 7 years old, you know how to make a fried egg, and then maybe you're 10 years old, you know how to make an omelet, and those kind of things. But it's still an egg, you know. So they started showing me different things, which I wouldn't be able to delve into because the Native American part says that's not authentic. But now, since I am mostly Filipino, whatever I do is going to be authentic, you know. And so I just kind of I did it that way. Yeah.
You know, it's funny because I'm also feeling into how I connect with what you're saying, which kind of blows my mind on one level. Because I feel like when someone asks me the same question, do you read books? And I'm like, no. You know, I'll write them because it comes like through me, but I don't read
Even
them.
cooler.
Yeah.
What a great response. No, I write.
Well, I mean, but
Batman.
it goes a little bit back to what you just said, is that I'm feeling like if I'm connecting to the bigger thing, that's teaching me. And if I stay aware, then I'm learning through experience. So I learn a lot from people, but people who model behavior, not people who teach and tell me, because you can tell me anything, but if I don't see you living that, then I have a really hard time like finding that vibe. It's like you're telling me this is the vibration, but you're living this vibration. You know, they're like those two things never connect in my mind.
You're talking about experiential right now.
I'm talking about experiential, yeah. And I always see Bambos as the biggest reflection for me because he's very even more so than me. You're very sensitive to an individual's vibration.
You're an empath, then? Is that what you are?
Yeah.
But on an intense level. Like almost to the level where I can't even, if I interact with him intellectually, then it's almost like a really struggle. So I have to drop into fully being present almost in this nonverbal way.
I can see that. I understand what you're saying when you say that.
Napoleon.
Yes.
I've never met a shaman. It's like the word is like a label, like a mystical.
I don't particularly like that word anymore. You know what I mean? If anything, I'm a wizard.
I love that.
I like that better as well.
But you can't be around saying a wizard, but you can.
What kind of people come to you?
Yeah.
And what are the kind of issues they might be having with themselves that you might be able to support them through?
Oh, you know, just the majority of people are experiencing the same sufferings, the same symptoms and illness and sicknesses, as far as too much chatter in the mind, trauma, sexual, trauma, those kind of things, abuse,
Self-hate.
self-hate. That's a lot of self-loathing, even unconscious self-loathing, fear of success. Though even sometimes it's fear of abandonment issues, those kind of things, shame, unconscious cries that weren't cried out, and those kind of things. So we'll clear that out of the energy field and the filters. And then there's people who have been cursed, or they have an entity, a malevolent entity in them, or those kind of things like that. And then those can be negotiated out. Uh, Many different kinds of people. I feel like everybody has the same stuff, really, is what it is. So we just got to deal with it with each individual person on their level of understanding to be able to release it. And
And
I
and
try
now
to
with
make. I feel like it's pretty easy to kind of understand it after you're in that vibration. You know,
and now with technology, are you doing things online or do people come to visit you?
I do a video call like just like this, except I just pull their spirit into my table. Which a spirit isn't linear anyway. It can be 1,000 places at once. So as long as I have their consent, I bring it, and then it's easier kind of just to take everything out like that anyway, without the body being in the way. But it is
Yeah.
definitely different, a nice experience to have to be a one-on-one. I like to have a one-on-one too sometimes.
Mm.
Mhm. But at least I don't have to vacuum the rug if it's a video call. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
You
pretty much everybody's doing kind of got the same stuff. But lately, there's a lot of there's more worry because we don't know what's going to happen. But
Mm.
that's that's a great sign. It's not going to
Yeah.
be more of the same.
Yeah. Are you doing the rituals with these peak experiences as well?
It's
So
more of a ceremony. The ritual means red, which means blood. Something has to do with blood. So
yeah.
ceremony would be the correct term for it to be, and it's more of a
But hold on, I didn't understand. I didn't know that. So ritual has more to do with blood.
right. The word right is red, so it's the red ritual. It's the like drinking of blood or these kind of things like this.
Oh, fascinating. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
So the ceremony then, sorry, the
Yes.
ceremony. So would you run ceremonies where you might have a frog as part of the
All right. Um,
experience?
Did you just say frog?
Yeah, because frog is the most
right.
generic word to use for something else.
So I understand completely. In fact, you can make it rain with the frog in your mouth. So there's a what I would do is first I would, I'm talk to the person and I would go in a council chamber about them and hey, what's going on with this person? They'll tell me, check out their left foot, the tendon is whatever it is, right? Or they've been hurt by their person when they were 7 years old, and those kind of things like this. And then I'll talk to them and see, and then go into their subconscious and pull out whatever it is not really pull out, but get some intel as far as what is this prayer going to be for? Because really, all a healing is it's an intention, right? A desire for something that you don't believe that you already have. So we laser focus this power prayer into layers because it's everything's vibration and frequency. So then we're basically lasagnaing this power prayer into specific layers of specificity. And usually it tends to be more of a like a oh, this person needs more clarity than they need healing physical. Or this person needs more divine self sovereign love for themselves before anything else can happen. And this person's just confused, type of deal. So those kind of things like that, or you know what, even simply this person just needs to have a great orgasm. You know what I mean? Those kind of things.
Yeah.
So it's like we'll find out what's going on with that, and then the ceremony, and then when I started, in the course of doing it, I become higher in vibration because every time I give a session, I get a session
Yeah.
because it's coming through me, right? It's not coming from me because I'm just a normal. Well, I'm not gonna say normal, but I'm just a dude. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yes, I feel like it goes there, but it's not even on a purpose, not on a let me be holy and all this stuff.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah.
It's fascinating when I hear you speak because you also have, like you talked about make an egg, make an omelet, and then you said layers like lasagna. So there's,
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
I'm getting a lot of imagery as
I
you're
know.
talking.
You know what I find beautiful and what I've always appreciated in watching your videos is that you will take the concept that clearly is articulated for more of a Western mind, and you'll translate it really beautifully. And I laugh as I watch your videos, because in a way it's like there's insight and wisdom which is passing through you, but it's passing through you and your way, in a way that makes it very easy
Your flair.
for laymen of any sort, just to like, you can't push you away. You can't say, oh, he's talking nonsense. And there's a beauty in that, because it's like you're a gateway between the two worlds of people that are more linear thinking and those that are actually allowing the spirit world to really define and allow them to understand.
Part of that is vibrational spell, a root chakra spell, actually. And it's essentially taking the root chakra's energy and overlapping it over your entire field with the intention, first feeling in the vibration of attractiveness or charisma, those kind of things like that, because the root chakra is the groundedness. It's the thing that makes people see you even and notice your presence before even you notice they're noticing you. So really, that's part of that, is that. And then usually the prayer is, just let me just be my mouth right now, God, type of deal. And then all of a sudden it'll just come out naturally, or however way it's supposed to come out. Plus I have a little flair to pay attention to me, look at me type of personality anyway. I'm show off anyway, like even in 6th grade show and tell, it was like, oh, I glued this calculator pieces on me and was like, I'm a robot. And they're like, type of deal. So I feel like I'm built for this.
Yeah.
I'm curious, when I see Andy interacting with his clients, because Andy's a coach, he kind of sees behavior, and based on their behaviors, he can pretty much tell a person's life. And sometimes they'll project onto him that he's a mind reader. And I'm actually also getting that a lot more and more as I'm going. And I'm wondering, what words would you use to say that when you see someone, you can kind of tell their story? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. I feel like I won't know them until I go into counsel, and that's what's good about that. You know what I mean? This way I'm not second guessing myself in any kind of way or any of those kind of things. And sometimes I'll make a prejudgment on them, because sometimes I'll get clients off Facebook, and then obviously the natural thing to do is kind of look them up. But before the session, I immediately just release all those ideas and expectations, and she looked like she must have been whatever it is just because she posted this thing, and we release all those things and just really just be there with the person and just be delightfully kind of surprised, like, oh, I didn't know this was gonna disappear. Or you can totally see it where it's like, oh, I see that she's just blaming everything else outwardly, and nothing is this person's fault. So you know what I mean? You can see that there's filters there and blocks of different variances, as far as like, is it the block from the heart? Is it the block of being able to speak your truth? Is it the block from your third eye? And most healings, usually people are confused, because first they're seeing to the heart, maybe to the left, and then speaking to the right and seeing to the forward, instead of everything being aligned into one thing. And then this is where clarity is at, and really that's, I feel like it's kind of like a mechanic, but it's just for spirits, kind of a thing.
Yeah, I'll always say that I don't want to even begin a session if I don't feel grounded, because what I'm saying is I'm not present with the person. I'm actually pulling from tools and things that aren't really in that moment the thing that I'm interacting with. So it was something else.
It's interesting though. He said that you would watch their
behavior.
How do you watch their behavior? You just watch them like in a weeks at a time, or in that moment
no.
you're having at the time?
In that exact second. I don't want to. I don't even want to look at their Facebook profile. I don't want to know any. In fact, as you were talking, something came up for me. Like, I used to work for a guy, or work with a guy, and he'd always want to tell me about the people before I met them. And I said, don't do that. I have no interest in them. I don't want to know anything about them. And he kept telling me, yeah, but you should know this or that. And I thought, if you tell me something, my authenticity and my ability to see them is diminished, because now I go in with the thought that I know them, and then I'm not present. Like
you're putting mud on the filter.
Yeah. So it's, and so when Bambos was saying it, the thing is that I'm sensing the person, and I see every person as a mirror of me. So
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not looking, or I'm not listening to them. In fact, the weirdest thing I'll say to people is, I just don't listen to you.
I love it.
As they're
I
speaking, I
love it.
say, I'm listening to myself, listening to you, because in
Yes,
that
yes.
way, like if you're crammed and you're saying, you know what? Things are okay with my dad. Like, I don't need to be a rocket scientist to know there's something there that hasn't been addressed. Like,
Right,
that's
right.
what we're
Exactly.
so when someone says you're a mind reader, I'm like, no, it's the most obvious thing that you just aren't able to access
Yeah,
because
right.
you're constricted.
Right, right, right. Yes.
Yeah.
It's easy to see when once you dealt with your own is the thing. You know what I
That's the
mean?
whole
You can
thing.
see you can see the shit on other people because you see it on you and you already took it off. It's really what it is, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the whole thing. And
Mhm.
Bambos, we'll talk about, you can only hold space for another person to the degree that you've addressed that same issue in yourself. And if you're if you're uncomfortable, like, because we had a really beautiful, both of our fathers were really abusive. Like,
Ah.
Bambos was more physically abusive, mine was more mentally
Mm.
bipolar, yelled. Well, Bambos was both.
Ah, ah.
And the weird thing was I got through my healing of the anger in the relationship to my own relationship to anger, a few years back.
Mm.
And to the point where I love my anger. It's like really beautiful, and it's channeling, it's telling me more than the sadness was ever telling me. And in that way, it's like beautiful to allow that. And it was beautiful because I could hold space.
It became a teacher for you.
It was my teacher,
Mm.
clearly. But what happened was that I could then be there for Bambos's anger,
Ah.
where I saw that was obviously an issue people were rejecting him for before.
I had to, so through him, he helped me find peace with anger and violence to the point
Ah.
where I look at them, and in the past it would be something like, we need to solve this. This is not okay. And now it's more like, oh, wow. There's a kind of groundedness and love
Yeah.
towards that
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Mm.
I see an interesting question coming through South Africa from our amazing Babaylan Rakipele.
Mhm.
When you were called a shaman, you said you are a wizard. Is a feminine word for wizard a witch?
You know, all the words really means nothing.
That's a trick question.
Yeah. I feel like that makes sense. Yeah, a wizard or a witch or a warlock. You know, those are more of the masculine terms and those kind of things. For me, it's more of a fantasy. Like in 7th grade, my best friend Juan, and then we were being asked what we want to be when we grow up. I said a wizard, and Juan said he wants to be a ninja. And they were like, "You can't be that. You could want to be a policeman or a fireman or something."
Yeah.
And we're like, "No, I'll be a wizard, and Juan will be a ninja." So right now, I think that I am a wizard, and Juan is running around somewhere, climbing up walls, backflipping off
Yeah.
them. Do you know what I mean?
I love it.
Yeah. So I think that the terms don't really particularly mean anything. One person could be a witch, and then this other person call themselves a witch, and sometimes people want to call themselves things just to feel a little more significant, and I feel like people kind of go into these kind of things because we don't feel significant enough. So we want to feel special in some kind of way.
Yeah.
And that's where I feel like a lot of the illusions and a lot of erroneous, well, at least in my perception, erroneous pathways towards this kind of modality, shamanism, healing, these spiritual readings, all these kind of things come into play as far as we get into this because of that, but then we shed that skin off and go, oh,
Yeah.
it's more than that.
Napoleon.
Yeah.
Is Napoleon your birth name?
Yes, it means
Wow.
New Lion City. New Lion King is what it means. Yeah.
Beautiful. The reason I was asking, I had the kind of assumption that maybe you changed your name.
I changed my name a bunch of times until I finally was like, you know what? I'm going to love my name now.
Nice.
So you went back to the original then?
Right. Yeah. Which is Napoleon.
By the way, the more
when you're
we
a kid,
speak,
that's a weird name.
the more I speak, the more I love you. You know that? Because in some ways, it's almost like I hear in you, I follow the path that feels right in this moment, and I don't need to be defined by whatever the past said it should have been, which is just really
Right.
sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
I've got curiosity around feminism and how that was brought in, and then how you basically will wear your clothing that is feminine as well. And then did you have experience with that before you went into this new tradition, or was that something
Yes.
that came?
Yeah, I've always been like that. Except I
So,
would hide it before. And then kind of this was my coming out kind of deal, and was like, you know what, I'm going to introduce this because this is part of this shamanism. This is part of this. I don't know, but even shamanism is kind of the word. I feel like that's getting overused, and now it's lost its potency.
yeah,
Type of deal, you know what I mean? But as far as this work, this butler work is what it
yeah.
is concerned. Since this part was part of it, then I really was like, now I can really step into this, because I felt like in the Native American one, if I were to do that, they would. I feel like I would be judged for that, or it would be
Diminished
not,
in some
not
way.
right. It would be not taken as seriously now. It's, oh, that's not real because he wears panties, you know, type of deal. And it's like, but in this version, which is the Filipino version, it makes sense to me. It's completely in my wheelhouse, you know.
I just want to say, how incredible is it that you were rejected by the shamanism that you've gone into, that actually, and it was almost like the spirits were guiding that, because it allowed you to find the one that was meant for you.
Yes, yes. I believe it was amazing. That was a great little storyline for that, you know, for this consciousness little book. And the character was very nice, and I got to experience that whole thing, and I got to collect all the cool stuff that came with it, all the magical items and all that kind of stuff, and you know, and I get to set it away, and now I get to create new
Yeah,
versions
create
of
a
these
new version.
different
Yeah,
things. Yes,
yeah,
I
cooler
find that
versions, I think, even.
yeah,
I'm a little bit taken aback or blown away by the fact that um, what you would call native. So, am I right when I say a group of shamans, Native Americans?
They weren't a group of shamans; it was the elders.
the elders. Yeah,
The
I mean, I'm
elders.
sure the shaman was there, but
When we say elders, would you say that they were connected to higher
you know, right now
spirits?
everybody's. I believe this, and and it's not good or bad. It's just part of the process, right? Right now, the world is waking up. While it's waking up, it's starting to sense and see, even the word trigger, starting all these emotions starting to coming out that weren't spoken about.
yeah,
And Native Americans in general, and Africans, and people who have been has ancestral trauma, that stuff
yeah,
is coming out easier, right? Because now they have a voice, and now they're all collected together. It's not like, oh, you're not just being sensitive. I also feel like that, so it makes sense for all that to come out, and those kind of things, you know. And sometimes whenever you have that, all of a sudden you you get hungry for it. So now it's a witch hunt where it's you're not one of us, and you're not this, and you
yeah,
know
yeah,
these
yeah.
kind of things with this. And you can totally see that on the internet. It's completely divided, which is part of the plan, is to systematically divide as many people as possible so that we don't stand together, which is okay. That's part of the plan. That's part of the process, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like, yes, that was, they recorded it actually. I don't know where it's at, but I'm sure, but everybody was recording that whole thing. And it was interesting to me. What stood out was this: after she did it, and after I said, "Oh, you made me feel ashamed," and "you're right," and all these kind of things, the tension in the room immediately dropped, and she was just crying, and you could tell she felt way better. She was just needed that to come out. So in a way, I feel like it was a healing. In
Yeah.
fact, it was a healing, you know. And then she said something to me which no one has ever said to me in my life. She's like, "You're amazingly humble," and I was like, "Oh, that's weird." You know, no one's ever called me that. So I felt like that was my little trophy as far as the memory goes. Is, oh, I got the extra video game Easter egg. I get to be
Yeah.
called humbled by somebody who read the Declaration of War to me. You know? Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like that's what happened. I mean, I won those people over.
Yeah, I think in a way, in when you feel people understand authenticity immediately, and they see that they want everything for a person and not from them. And I believe that in the face of what you were confronted with, you showed them how deep your love was. And the love was so deep that if I'm not meant to be here, that's also just fine. And there's a beauty that people, they only understand afterwards, though. They don't know what they missed until you're gone.
Right. And you know, they're being also like your friend was telling you, hey, well, you should know about this. You should know about this. I feel like those memes and posters that they made of me was that kind of a thing going on, and they judged it because I was part of this other group who may or may not be authentic. I just
Yeah.
thought of it as a platform to give the people a blessing or something like this.
What does authentic mean to you?
I guess in the term that I just used it as, it was more of a, you're not specifically from Colombia, your parents were, or those kind of things like that. And it's like, it's just judgment is what it is. Like, you're not judging people who practice martial arts of the of kung fu and these kind of things like that. You can be any race to be that, and no one trips out on it, right?
Yeah.
The reason I believe no one trips out on it because that ancestral trauma isn't there to trip out on. Do you know what I mean? So whatever there's an ancestral trauma, then of course you're going to try to grab it. Is this it? Maybe it's this over here, or you know what I mean? Those kind of things like that.
That's beautifully
Yeah.
said, actually, because and then the words like cultural appropriation
Right.
come in,
Uh-huh.
because in a way, if there is that collective, the ancestral trauma, which I mean, I maybe heard that word before, but as you've spoken it, I now have seen a lot, because when you spoke very quickly over a lot of big themes, where we see that the world is becoming divided as people begin to absorb the ancestral trauma and separate themselves from one another. Quite frankly, they're actually using it as a means not to bring together, but actually, to separate. And I believe, as you said earlier, that is a part of the process of healing.
Yes. Kind of like, if you get beat up, you kind of go home, lick your wounds a little bit. You're not going to off the bat. You're going to have to figure it out. And I feel like it's healthy for the world to even do that now.
Yeah, I agree.
Napoleon, where would you lean into if you are going through something, like maybe something hits you, like something which isn't even yours, but it's from your ancestors? I don't know if you've had that experience, but where would you go to
heal that?
Or heal it or work through it?
I go to my guides. Immediately I go to my guides. In fact, I can't believe how people do it without it now. Like you guys, or most of the majority of people, they have to count on themselves or some sort of faith that they don't really know. Because faith and knowing is two different things, right? If you say, honey, our party people are coming right now, like they're here, right? Honey, our people are here. That's a knowing. If you say, hey, honey, I believe the people are here. That's faith. But it's a complete different feeling. I believe the people are here, or hey, the people are here, right? Those are two different things. So I feel like for me, the knowing part is to talk to the guys, and hey, what do I do about this? Hey, I feel this about this. And they're like, well, what is it? Shame? Is it these kind of things? Is it over here? Is it that? And I particularly, since I take it out of people, I can take it out of myself. And I feel like that's a great blessing that I have, as far as soon as I notice it, and I'll notice it very quickly, to be like, oh, I feel bitterness against this person because they did this to me, or I better let that go. That's crap. Or these kind of things like this. And I'll notice. In fact, lately I noticed they started to tell me, which I wasn't ever cognizant of, have you ever really forgiven yourself about all the little things that you did to somebody that you may have overstepped your bounds, that you may have hurt their feelings? And I started going in my past, and I was thinking, oh, when I was 15, I did this thing, and when I was over here, I did this thing, and I started just going through the line of like, let me find out all those little things that I never thought about.
Beautiful. Sounds like a clearing.
Yeah, there's more of a focus, as far as, is there any little piece of darkness in here? Is there any little piece of smudge, of a cobweb, of a rust, of something that doesn't serve this field's energy to the utmost ability that I could be the superhero that I feel like I am, kind of a deal.
It reminds me a little bit of you when you contacted all your ex-girlfriends to apologize.
Oh,
and
wow.
I did the same actually.
Wow.
Yeah. It was like,
that's amazing. I don't think I would have had the balls to do that.
Some of the stories were a little bit like, I remember the one I spoke to one, and because as I said, so my dad was an angry man, and as we said, I judged anger, which meant that I suppressed it, and then when it built up over time, it came out, and it came out as rage. So I quite literally became my dad at that moment.
Yes,
and
yes.
and in my as I got older, I forgot all the instances, because when you're angry, you don't even realize the impact that has on other people. You don't even understand it. It's like in time you see, oh my God, that one instance of anger, I could have been perfect for 5 years, but if I'm one instance of that rage, that individual can't trust me anymore because they're fearful that I could do that again.
Right, you've made a neural net into their in their mind, and
In their mind, and now he's possible of that. So
yeah,
only knowing that, I called them up to apologize for something I wasn't even as sure of, just to make sure that if that did occur, that I at least wanted. And then one of them said something that was the weirdest thing, and I wasn't sure if it was a compliment or otherwise, but she said after we broke up, she went out with a man, and the man was physically abusive. And then she lived in the same apartment complex as he did. He began to date another woman, and then that woman came rushing to their door one day because she was being physically abused. She opened the door. This individual, the man that was physically abusive, happened to be a doctor. And she opens the door, and then she's with this second woman, and she says to him, if you talk to either of us again, we go directly to the police, and then we go to the hospital. We make sure you will never work again the rest of your life. We guarantee you this. And then, so she said what she said word for word to him. And then she said afterwards, and I attribute that to you.
Wow. See, that's crazy.
Wow. And you've never shared this. Wow.
Yeah. And so, and it was a weird story, because on one level, I thought, what a great experience, but like, I didn't quite know what.
It's cool. You got to keep that little piece, you know?
Yeah, but it was a bit confusing for me as well at the moment, because so she took away from me that if you're that strong, that'll have an impact on the other person. It'll stop a behavior or whatever she was conscious of. I didn't even get into with her but it was quite a magical moment. Yeah.
That is amazing. That makes sense to me, though, for a doctor. A doctor is a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of ego too, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I had, as you were speaking before, Napoleon, 4 weeks ago exactly, I was going through what I would call depression. And it felt like a suffocation in my body. And it got to the point where I was working and I couldn't, I saw I was working out of a desperation instead of love. And I stopped working and I just looked around my room just to ground a little bit. And I was like, wow, do I go to a doctor? They're going to give me medication. Who do I call for support? And then I have this meditation rug on the ground. So I just said, sit the fuck down and breathe.
And who told you that?
Yeah. I
Spirit.
There was that guidance, right? And I sat on the rug. And as soon as I started taking the first breaths, there were just these tears. And since then, I've also been, I've mentioned in this show, I've been meditating 100 minutes a day.
Oh, wow, nice.
I just gave a number and I've been dedicating to it. And nothing changed in my life. The outer circumstances didn't change, but I saw that I create more space in myself to tap into a thing what I would call creativity and more resourcefulness. And before, I was like, wow, I feel like no option in me anymore.
Yeah.
So
I can do that.
Yeah, that was really a remarkable journey. So when I hear you also speak about what you do when you're in a runt, I kind of resonate in that way.
I mean, sometimes they don't help me. Sometimes they, you got to work it out.
Let you suffer.
So it's not let me suffer. I don't. Majority of the time, I choose not to, or I'll see it coming in and be like, "Hey, you're not invited to the party. Where's your badge? You get out of here," kind of a thing. I've set up some mental bouncers for any kind of negative
Mental
thought or any kind of
bouncers.
thought that goes into,
Yeah.
hey, wait a minute, or even just any kind of random anything, because really we're just catching thoughts and none of it is our thoughts anyway. It's just
Yeah.
flowing through everywhere, right? No one, in fact, even the idea of a patent is kind of silly because all these ideas are everywhere. But I guess it's whoever pulls it out of this dimension and puts it on a piece of paper, and then it's in the physical dimension. Then, of course, then you get paid for the whatever it is.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
You
That
know,
makes sense.
there's something you said, and Babaylan has stated it, and you mentioned a little bit when Bambos was speaking a moment ago, that I love the difference between the people are here and I believe the people are here.
Mhm.
You said earlier, and we did one show on the topic, and you mentioned it was Bambos said who guided you to do that meditation, and the show was called Trusting Your Experience.
Ah,
And the thing that I've spent a lot of time trying to support people to see is that, and I look at, like, on the show, there's like 20 things I always say, these are the things that serve me in my life. Like, I
mhm,
know until I had this, I was incapable of doing other things. And
mhm.
one of the things was trusting my experience, but trusting it to the point where, as you said, like it's how would you say? It's like, I don't need to go out of myself to see that there's stuff here that if I allow spaciousness, I'll be shown the way. If I
Yes.
and I also know if I don't know, it's not a problem.
Mhm,
It's just not the time for me to figure to act on this at this moment.
mhm.
So
Yeah, I believe that.
yeah, but I see that you, as you say, as you talk about trusting the experience, that and I've even spoken to Bambos about it. So when he quickly said, when you asked him who told you that, and he
Mhm.
said, "Oh yeah," I really wanted him to like I wanted to hone in on this lesson. Is
Right.
that, and I'd
That sounds
almost
like a
say,
spirit guide move, is what it is. I know their moves. You know what I mean?
what'd you
Where it's
say?
like, it sounds like a spirit guide move, where it's like, hey, what about that? You know what I mean? Like, what about that prayer rug? And
Yeah,
immediately your mind hits it like Google, whatever you input in the first sponsoring thought, your mind will immediately go to the next sponsoring thought of that matches that first thought, and you sat on the rug, and
and
and then you said
and
you
and,
started
and
crying. So
yeah.
yeah, I feel like that move is
And I wanted to
one
use
of the
this moment because this is something we share, and I've spoken to you
moves.
about it before, and I haven't necessarily seen you elevate it to that level.
Mm.
And I just want to embrace that now we're with Napoleon, because I see that that's something that I've also tried to share in different ways, and I don't think I've ever been successful sharing it. And I thought maybe with Napoleon here, I could kind of point to, like, almost, oh yeah, that's the thing I'm talking about, like that thing. That's the thing I'm talking about. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you.
yeah. It's a. How does it feel when I share that? By the way,
Yeah,
though.
beautiful. It resonates
Oh,
fully.
very nice. Okay. Yeah.
You
You
can
guys are awesome
you can only point the direction, right? And at some point,
right.
something like an individual needs to grab onto it himself. But
Yeah.
you
Yes.
can only yeah.
Yeah,
I,
but sometimes there's that vibration, and I can't, I try to explain it. There's a vibration, and when you're resonating with another person and you're on that same vibration, because you just feel the tenor, you feel the groundedness and how they speak, and you can associate immediately with your own experience. And then it's like, how, I think the best lesson is spending time with people that live consistently in a certain vibration, because what happens is you pick it up just by being around them.
Yeah.
mm-mm.
That's why I don't have any friends.
Yeah.
I don't either. Maybe I'm too picky. I don't know.
Yeah, but I in time I find I have very few friends as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like that makes sense though, to be able to go away from people and come into yourself more deeply. But I feel like I resonate with you guys. I feel whenever I really ask myself, do I resonate with this person? Would I play GI Joes with this guy if I was 14? You know what I mean? Those kind of things. Then, then they'll be my friend.
Like there was a time and he says to me, "You need to have more friends."
I feel like
Because
maybe we all need to have more friends.
Yeah, true.
so what I did, I created a group
Mhm.
and where a workshop where people came in, but in the end, because I was a facilitator,
Uh-huh.
I saw everyone having a bond, but I was holding space for it. So still, I wasn't getting the thing that I wanted, which was
Right.
connection.
Because
But
then you're the host, right? The
I'm the
person
host.
host can't party.
Yeah, the host can't party on his
You're
own.
the barbecuing guy. You're
Yeah, you're making the meat for the barbecue.
Exactly.
Wow.
that makes
You know,
sense.
the one thing I loved when Napoleon and I we first had our contact, Napoleon says, "So Andy, what interests you?" You know, and then of course when you're talking to someone the first time, you can see how like down to earth they are when they don't try to like talk about things like, well, Napoleon, I've been into intellectual stimulation for 20 years. Like I said, well, Napoleon, I got VR goggles last week and I've really been enjoying them. And then he's like, dude, I got VR goggles. We got to get online. And then that was sort of our bonding
play
moment.
golf with you. Yes,
Did you play it?
We didn't. You
No,
know
we
what
didn't
happened?
yet. Yes.
You know what
I would
happened,
love to play golf.
Napoleon? You know what happened? Not all that soon after our talk, I've been having sort of weird dizzy spells.
That happens
And
to some people. You get over, kind of like seasickness. You got to get over it. You'll get over it.
yeah, I know, but we're talking weeks or months. So I stopped using the goggles because I didn't know what was going on, and I didn't want to go back to the thing that actually that got me a little bit off. So yeah, just
there's a grounding exercise energetically you could do before you get on that, and that would help it.
okay. Well,
Yeah, I'll share it with you afterwards.
Yeah, please. Thank you. And there's another one, and I know this is not of importance to anyone necessarily watching, but the Star Wars series. I know you like the Star Trek series, right? But the Star Wars series is very good. If you're doing VR and you want to have an immersive experience as if you're going through a story, like actually a movie, but you're in the movie, then it's an amazing experience.
I filmed this, man. Doing it.
Yeah, it is like silly.
it's the most hilarious thing in the world.
Right. And then I filmed him doing the same thing, and it looked like he belonged in a movie because he actually his moves were so agile and perfect. It was.
I mean, I really try to get into it. You know what I mean? If I'm playing one, then I put on my armor. And my mom.
Do you really?
So, Napoleon, our viewers are probably going to want to know the 5 steps to enlightenment. Can you share them with us now?
Yes.
The 5 steps of enlightenment.
This is a trick question. We don't ask many people. He's taking my humor. I hate that he uses my humor.
And we're going to do so much more.
You know what? I think that if you were to really, when it comes down to it, it's really about raising your what your dominant vibrational frequency is. So really, maybe it would be breathe correctly.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Because that's where you're getting all your energy from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a book that I own, but I never read it. But the title is A Life Worth Breathing. And
A Life Worth Breathing.
Yeah. And I just love that title, but I never felt drawn to the book.
Yeah. I really like that.
But what is your vibration telling you, Bambos?
What do you mean?
Like
breathe, motherfucker.
So you don't need to read the book anymore.
What I've seen, at least how my logic brain rationalizes, is when there's tension in the body, we tend to have shallow breathing, and that means probably a lot of the organs where the emotions are don't get oxygenated. So by breathing, by sitting down to actually take the time to breathe, we're bringing oxygen into parts of our bodies where there's tension.
Right.
And that's where things start to open up. We start to get more blood circulation and spaciousness.
Yeah.
Right.
On a physical level.
Right.
But I'm sure it touches everything. Like, breath.
And on the other end of that spectrum, people are breathing through masks now. And as soon as you take away the oxygen, your mind goes automatically to basically beta mode, whereas you're in precognition, but all of a sudden you're in survival mode, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you're easily manipulated in survival mode.
I note you're easily manipulated in survival mode. When I spent December and January in the U.S., that's when we spoke, and we're in Amsterdam right now. The vibration here is, yes, there is a COVID thing, and yes, it's affecting part of us, but there's no one on a mask outside. You're walking.
Really?
No one on a mask.
News. That's good news.
So you walk outside.
Only in supermarkets.
No. If you're going to a supermarket and a store, you put it on. But it's almost like there's no one shaming you. It's like, okay, this is what we do. No big deal. Let's just, But what the thing I find is that the energy of that spaciousness compared to what I experienced when I was in Los Angeles, where there was so much more land, so much more space, but everyone had their mask on. I felt the intensity that I couldn't even, I would like, it was palpable. I could like, I leaving and coming back here, I could breathe again. So I hear what you say. There's almost an indoctrinated, socialized fear and anxiety, and maybe you're gonna die. Like when someone says to me, "I got the COVID vaccine, I feel like I can breathe again." I think to myself, "Wow, I never didn't feel like I could breathe." Like that's
interesting. You know what I've noticed in my sessions, people have been having this stuff, this energy, icky energy. Really, it's just etheric snot, is what it is, on their face.
Did you say etheric snot?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Wow.
Kind of like doing a session is basically like changing somebody's diaper. A baby doesn't know its shit on itself, and humans don't generally know that they have all this crap on themselves, which is what it is.
Yeah.
That I have to pull out like you were gutting a fish almost, kind of. But the mask thing, I've noticed that people have had it on their face more, and I have to pull out extra stuff because of that.
Wow.
Because what happens is that's a petri dish, you know what I mean? That's bacteria you just have it all on your face all the time. Those
where are you located, Napoleon?
I'm in Las Vegas, the city of sin.
I love your photos, by the way.
Oh yeah, that's my friend's ability to take really amazing, phenomenal pictures. That's not particularly my deal, but she has great those kind of things. Yeah.
Nice.
And I like playing dress up because I'm kind of girly, so it makes sense for me to take those pictures.
Yeah, beautiful.
I really love this.
Yeah,
that was a great day. Yes.
Well, Napoleon, we're at the end of our hour. I'm really grateful because I know
I wanted to share something with you before you leave, though.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to do a few things actually. Please, can you tell us if people want to find you and they want more information, where they should also go before you do anything, so that they can connect with you and connect with your content?
Oh yeah, I forgot that people are watching this. You could just check out my Facebook.
Napoleon Reyes, that's it, right?
And we've got it in the content. Yeah. Okay.
And then
I'm definitely going to contact you for a session.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be great. I'd love to see what's going on with you, or at least talk to my guides about it, and then we'll see what's going on with that.
Beautiful.
So I wanted to share something with you about as far as even vibrational frequency and raising that vibrational frequency in a very easy way. So simple, in fact, most people will bypass it. Like not even take a second glance. But it's so easy, it's ridiculous. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to raise your vibrational frequency by having you raise your vibrational frequency in a way that really responds to your inner sovereignty, your inner divinity, that creator part of you, right? So I want you to go like this, about half an inch apart. And what we're going to do is we're going to say this invocation. An invocation means to summon from above. As an evocation means to summon from below. We're going to summon it from above. And what we're going to do is we're going to say this thing 3 times. And after the 3rd time we say it, a burst of energy is going to come out of your palm chakra. All right? So let's try it out. I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I am a clear and perfect channel.
I am a clear and perfect channel.
Love and light is my guide.
Love and light is my guide.
1. I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I'm a clear and perfect channel.
I'm a clear and perfect channel.
Love and light is my guide.
Love and light is my guide.
2. I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I'm a clear and perfect channel.
I'm a clear and perfect channel.
Love and light is my guide.
Love and light is my guide.
I want you to feel it. Can you feel heat or pushing or anything like that?
Yeah.
Good. Open your eyes, but keep your hands there. Now I want you to spread your hands open. Where can you feel this energy field get denser? About right there? Right there? Yeah. Good. So that's your bioetheric energy, right? Bio coming from you. Ether, the state between matter and energy. We're going to make a beeb, a bioetheric energy ball. But this time when we do it, we're going to access our Christ light, and we're going to mean it, right? And when we say, I invoke the light of the Christ within, what you're saying is, Not necessarily, Jesus, come over here. It's not nothing like that. It's basically saying, I invoke the God within me, the creator within me, the true spirit, the cognizance of consciousness within me, the immortal spirit. That's what I'm invoking, right? So when you say it, just mean it. And then when you say, I'm a clear and perfect channel, all you're doing is stating right here, right now, in this time and dimension, I, in fact, am a clear, perfect channel. When we say love and light, I want you to really feel love. Any kind of love you ever felt, any act of kindness you ever saw, all the love in all domains, realms, and dimensions, in all the galaxies, all at once. Feel that love. All right? All right. So we're gonna do it one more time, and this time we're gonna say it with meaning and with complete optimized love and intention. So I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I am a clear and perfect channel.
I'm a clear and perfect channel.
Love, 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 and light is my guide.
Love, 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 and light is my God.
I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I am a clear and perfect channel.
I'm a clear and perfect channel.
Love, 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 and light is my guide.
Love, 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 and light is my guide.
I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I am a clear and perfect channel.
I'm a clear and perfect channel.
Love, 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 and light is my guide.
Love, 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 and light is my guide.
You feel it. Should be way stronger. Yes. Should be bigger. Yes.
Yeah, you know what I'm feeling? I'm feeling the pressure of it as I'm pushing it in. Like,
yeah, it should be denser in the middle. So
yeah.
But pull your hands out like this, and then kind of where's the edge of this field now? Where can you feel it? Where's the edge of it? It should be way bigger because we put actual intention in. If you just say the light of the
I'm pushing it in here.
Yeah. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna squeeze this in and make it more of a ball. So go ahead and you're gonna form it to a snowball or a giant meatball. Okay. And obviously this would look completely insane to somebody who's not at the vibrational frequency of this, right? They won't be able to feel it or anything like that. So, but we could feel it because we invoke the light of Christ. We basically use our own godness or godlingness is what I like to call it, to create it. Good. So we have it into a ball, and go ahead and push it towards the camera. There you go. And you should be able to feel this. Can you feel me push against yours? Can you feel it? Yes or no?
Yes.
Good.
Yeah,
so that's a confirmation for your neural net. Can you feel it too?
Yeah, I feel it.
Okay, good. So now we have it together. Now we're going to do it one more time, and we're going to bless the world with this energy ball. All right? So I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I am a clear and perfect channel.
I'm a clear and perfect channel.
Love, love, and light is my guide.
Love, love, and light is my guide.
I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I am a clear and perfect channel.
I'm a clear and perfect channel.
Love, 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 and light is my guide.
Love, 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 and light is my guide.
I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I invoke the light of the Christ within.
I am a clear and perfect channel.
I'm a clear and perfect channel.
Love, 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 and light is my guide.
Love, 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 and light is my guide.
Now I want you to vision that inside this ball, this sphere, this beeb, just pictures of people just loving each other. I want you to picture just a mask. They're all in the trash. Okay. Yes. People smiling, hugging, laughing, eating. A new world. Just walking outside and people laughing, enjoy. Ah, that part, the uneasy is over. You got it? Yeah. Everybody just getting along. Just the world getting along. All the nations getting along. All the riot shields thrown down. You have it? Good. Then one more thing. I want you to bless every child in this planet right now. Just feel love for every child on this planet. They are all your children. All of them. So feel it. Just feel love for them. Boost them. You got it? Now you have those energies and feelings in that energy ball. What we're going to do is we're going to put our hands on the bottom of the ball. And on the count of 3, we're going to throw it up in the air. And we're going to clap our hands, and we're going to tell it, seek your purpose. This isn't a please give me. This is a commandment. Seek your purpose. All right? So 1, 2, 3. Throw it up in the air. Clap your hands. Seek your purpose.
Seek your purpose.
Seek your purpose.
Good. That's a little offering for them. Or for us. Whatever way you want to view it.
I'm sweating
Oh.
right now.
Yeah.
I've got sweaty, like, and I'm still like feeling this pressure between my hands. Like I just was.
I mean, yeah, you can have. You probably should feel it still because as soon as you really invoke your own godliness, which is natural.
It's almost like electricity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My body feels like I'm yawning. Like I need to go sleep.
That's fine.
Wow.
Good. I'm glad that you guys did that and experienced that with me.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah,
it's really beautiful to be with you. I knew it would be if we were going to get you.
But you noticed that it was very logical, right? It wasn't like there's this mystical, magical, not understandable thing. It's all just a new form of science. It's just a new form of understanding.
I mean, as we, when you said we're going to raise the vibration, I didn't know where you were going to go, and it didn't matter. But as I went through the experience, I was feeling into, wow, if you're embodying the things that we just experienced, and that's the vibration you're giving into the world, then you're creating more of the thing that's going to create peace and harmony and love. Like that's it. So I felt that as an experience in this moment. So thank you. That's what I took away from this experience.
Oh, well, thank you. You guys with the batteries and chargers and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
3 is very powerful to do it with.
Yeah. Wow. Great to be with you.
I should leave you with something. I'm just your mirror. I'm not special. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well,
so, perfect.
I look forward to at some point being in Las Vegas and seeing you firsthand, and if you come here, obviously having the same experience, right?
I would love that. That would be great.
I'm definitely going to photograph you.
Yeah,
if we meet.
Bambos is a photographer. That's his.
Well, let's make it intention for it. That would be great.
Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah.
Yeah, come down to Vegas, and then I'll try to figure out my papaperwork and all those kind of things, so I can get out of the country and do stuff.
I'd love to also introduce you to Delissa Hawking, who I mentioned, who's in.
And she lives in Vegas, right?
She's in Vegas. She had a show at Bunyan's, I think it's called. It's a hotel there. She did a live seance sort of experience. But when you're with her, we just feel more connected with her. She's certainly connecting to something bigger than herself, and she's just a beautiful person. So yeah,
we've had 2 shows with her.
Yeah, just
let me send me her link for the Facebook. And
I will.
I'll say hi to her.
She's a beautiful person. She would love to have contact, I'm sure. Thank you, Napoleon.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. I look forward to speaking. And then we close out the show, and then we'll talk in a bit. Okay. Thank you.
Don't go away.
Yeah, he can. We'll find him later. Wow. We went long, but it felt like it shot by, right? It was really, really beautiful.
Well, we also had to go long because we
absorbed some time with the start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us for this week. What a wild week it's been.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really great being with Napoleon. I really enjoyed that time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I really meant that I'm going to reach out to him.
Yeah.
And I don't easily reach out to people.
You've never said it to anyone on the show that I know of in the 200 shows. So Napoleon can take that as a compliment.
We're on 198 shows. On Monday, guys, is a very special show. It's an experiment. We've always talked about this show would be very successful in the conventional realm if we would start to talk in 5 steps to success, 5 steps to wealth, 5 steps to whatever.
Yeah.
If you want to find more peace in your life, you need to breathe more. That kind of shit.
Yeah.
So in a way, Monday, Andy is going to impersonate a guru. And I'm going to be sitting here with a beautiful redhead.
Yep. Mariana
Kuching, who's a dear friend of mine. And she's also been on the show several times when I haven't been able to appear.
Yeah. And we're going to experience what happens when you're interacting with an individual who is not aware that they're actually trying to convince you that you have a lack of something, and in convincing you have lack of something, they have basically going to sell you something to make it clear for them.
They take control of you.
Yeah.
Your
Or you
agency.
lose agency over yourself.
You lose it. What's
Yeah.
another word for agency? Because I don't know if
Agency
people fully
would be-
understand that.
Agency would be I lose the ability to make decisions on my own.
Yeah.
As Napoleon would say, I lose a connection to my spirit, which helped me make decisions, and I make it about you and your knowledge and information, which then means I'm dependent on you for things that is actually in the ether. And
Yeah.
that's the and we're going to do that on Monday, and there's going to be a lot of good shows, and we'll cross the 200 mark. Werbam, Bos, Charles, Dimitri, you,
And so much more on
a wonderful chaos.